Hello, everyone. It is 3 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. Hope you made note of the notes we had here while you were waiting. So please keep yourself muted, and we will use our chat box for communication. Questions will be addressed at the end of our presentation, and you will receive 1 hour of CPE credit. Please know that it may take a little longer to get that. It won't be as automatic as typical. But moving forward, we will have our sessions in the Region 11 registration, and so it will be like normal when you attend our sessions. This will be recorded, and resources will be emailed tomorrow to everyone. So you'll receive a PDF version of this presentation today with live links to everything. While we're together today or later, share your learning and tag me, Melanie Yocum, and my colleague, Elena Guerrero, as well as our ESC 11 bilingual ESL. And if you want to tag ESC Region 11 as well, we would appreciate you tagging us and just sharing what you have learned today. So welcome again. This is our first bilingual teacher collaborative. Hopefully it's one of many. The trending hashtag you may have seen out there is Better Together, and really do, Elena and I both really do believe in this, that we individually have a lot to offer, but together as a group, there's so much more that we can offer our English learners and our students, and our bilingual students. So this is me. I have been serving English learners, students, and teachers for 22 years. I've had experience as a self-contained classroom teacher, middle school, ELA teacher, as well as ESL teacher. Before I came to the Service Center, I worked at the district level in the bilingual ESL department. And prior to me receiving this position as the ESSA team lead, I was a pre-K-12 instructional content coach. And again, there are my Twitter handles that you can follow us and get resources. I know a lot of teachers are hesitant about Twitter, but I would encourage you to encourage others or even yourself to do that, because it's great free PD. But again, this is me in a nutshell. I'm very passionate about working with students, particularly our dual language students. And again, we just really welcome you. Today I have my colleague with me, Elena Guerrero, and somebody, you can mute yourself. Thank you. But again, so I have my colleague with me here today. Elena is a literacy content coach, and I will let her share more about herself.
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. I'm Elena Guerrero, and I work at, obviously, ESC Region 11. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I've had the opportunity to serve teachers and bilingual students for over 13 years now. Started as a pre-K teacher, second grade teacher, and then taught in 4th ISD, Birdville ISD, and then became an instructional content coach for Birdville, as well as a dual language coach. And serving EL students and teachers that serve EL students is a great passion of mine, especially in the realm of equity and access. And so I currently serve as an instructional content coach at the Service Center, and happy to be here with you all today. My Twitter handle is at the bottom of this screen. Follow us, follow me, and I look forward to learning with you this afternoon.
Thank you, Elena. And Elena is my co-host today, so you will hear us both going back and forth as we move through our time together today. And so again, we're very excited about having you all here. And again, if you don't mind keeping yourself muted, thank you guys. All right, so this is our Region 11. You can see that it is very large. We go all the way down to Erath and Johnson County and all the way up to the Oklahoma border. We have, in Region 11, we are actually the number 4 in the state for the number of ELs participating in bilingual ESL programs at a little over 98,000 students. And that number is in relation to students that are actually participating in the program. We have many program denials, and so there are more, but that's our number at this point. And we have such a vast differences in our local districts and charter schools, because some have do not have enough students. Maybe they don't even have ESL, or we have many who don't have bilingual because they've not hit that magic number of 20. So it looks different everywhere we go, and different districts and charters offer different things. Our student population, at this point, we have just under 600,000 students. You can see the number of economically disadvantaged, and then our ELs are at 16.5%. And when you look over ethnicity, you can see we have 40% white and 30% Hispanic, and this is based on the 18-19 teams. So this will obviously change with the 19-20 teams when those reports come out. But you can see by ethnicity what Region 11 looks like. This is the data that we have right now on what programs are being offered. This is incomplete data because not all local education agencies, or what we call a district or a charter, have responded. But you can see at this point we do have Spanish and Vietnamese languages. If you are from a district or charter that is offering dual language in a different language, we would love to hear about it. At this point, this is what we've received from directors, but we have one-way dual language, two-way, transitional early exit, and transitional late exit. And again, servicing Spanish and Vietnamese. All right, Elena, will you share with us what we have for our Learning at 11?
Absolutely. So what you're looking at is our Learning at 11 website. So if you browse our Region 11 website, the first banner that you'll see pop up is this one where it says Learning at 11. If you click on the right-hand side where you see my circle, you're going to find some resources that we're developing at the Service Center in supports for all of our students. In particular, today, we're going to highlight and showcase the resources that we have available for Spanish language arts. So Melanie, if you can click over, please. Our next slide shows, once you actually click on that circled icon, you're going to see that there's various boxes at the bottom of this Learning at 11 site where you have access to all of our modules that have been developed to support your distance learning. We have instructional support materials for pre-K through 5th grade available to you in English and in Spanish to support the Spanish language arts TEKS, as well as some ESL English learner supports. So if you click on where Melanie is demonstrating, you would have an opportunity to choose and select the grade level band that you serve. We offer these in all content areas. However, the only ones that have been already produced in Spanish are just the Spanish language arts one, so the ELA, but we also have EL components in the math and the science modules. So once you're there where you see the circle, you would choose your grade level band. These are broken up by pre-K, kinder first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then the English learner supports are done by a little broader of a range of grade levels. This is what you will see once you actually click on one of those resources. You'll notice that at the top, you're always going to have the student expectations or the TEKS that are covered in this unit, in addition to some resources and materials that are supporting Spanish language arts. And so most of these, all of these include authentic pieces of information to support that content area, but they're equitable in the sense that you're covering the same objective in both languages. So those of you that serve two-way or to be able to support equity in both languages. The next, so this is at-home learning for ELs, and Melanie will guide you in that next part.
Thank you, Elena. Yes, so Elena covered, the pieces that would include your Spanish language arts, as well as your other content areas. Then you'll notice there's a section for English learners, pre-K through 12. Well, they're divided into the bands as well, but it does cover pre-K 12. And you can find that at Learning 11, and there's a QR code here that shows you what that contains. You will find things for practicing English with pictures, read, writing, and speaking, no technology needed. And you'll notice when you move up in the grade level bands that the approach changes. even directions maybe to the parents. Now maybe it's speaking to the student, or when it contains tips, now the tips may be, in the beginning they were for the parent and now they're more for the student. And so you'll notice how that will shift as you move in grade levels. Here's an example of what one of those look like, and this is 3rd through 5th, and you can see a Let's Getting Started schedule. One of the biggest concerns when we first started moving to remote learning was schedules. Parents didn't know, does this mean my kid's going to school all day? How does this look? And so putting some options for parents. And again, we know, just a disclaimer for today, we both, Elena and I both know that your district or your charter has given you initiatives and has given you guidance on how they want things to look. So what we talk about today are merely just suggestions and things to consider. We do understand that you are following what your LEA has asked you to do, but giving just some options, so a morning and an afternoon, and then there were some tips for parents. And again, as mentioned, those things shift depending on the grade. Here's an example of the Read, Talk, Write. Now, something else I want to say is these resources, yes, we're talking about practicing English, but you say, you know what, I need them to practice Spanish, or I need them to practice Vietnamese. You can download these documents and you can make them what you need them to be. Also, if you notice, you know what, it'd be really nice to have this document, you know, in Spanish or Vietnamese. We welcome your assistance in translating those. I have had some of our Vietnamese teachers in Keller. They have translated a few documents for us, and as well as some teachers in Venus ISD have translated some pieces for us. So, you know, we understand that, and if you don't want the focus to be particularly English, then you could always switch that to the language of your instruction. Here's another one, Practicing English with Pictures. This one is pre-K 5. I have not completed the 6th through 12th one yet, but this one, again, same thing. If you want it to be geared towards your language of instruction, that could definitely be downloaded, and you could, you know, make that your own. Another document that helps on translating, so some of your families may not know how to translate documents using either the Google Translate app, or when they go to a website, or even putting captions and YouTube videos into that native language. Also, something to think about with your speakers is putting the captions in English, so then they can be practicing English. So these are few of the ways to translate. Again, it is not an exhaustive list, and I'm constantly coming across more. And when you go to this, each of these modules on Learning at 11, you will find YouTube videos where I've screen recorded myself showing families. No language is used in the video recording. It's just me showing. So you can certainly share these out on how to use the Photo Translate app or changing captions in YouTube videos. All right.
So
Elena, do you want to enter? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you, Melanie.
Yes.
We are going to introduce some teacher leaders in our region that have accepted the challenge of sharing with you all some of the successes and supports that they have been presenting students. So first we have Mrs. Hernandez. She is a 3rd grade teacher at Alvarado ISD. She is a busy mommy of 5 and loves to wake up early and read. And she's going to tell us how she has been supporting her students during this time. Ms. Hernandez.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Araceli Hernandez, and one of the things that I've been doing with my kids, we started off by using what the curriculum the district had for us, and we just kind of planned out for the rest of the school year, not knowing whether or not we were going to return. And so, but one of the things that I've learned to do with my kids is to do a weekly check-in. I was doing some phone calls with parents, and a lot of them sounded frustrated and flustered. So just picking up the phone and talking with them was my check-in with the parents, and of course continuous contact with them through Class Dojo. They had, in my campus, we use Class Dojo as our parent communication platform. And so it has really come in handy this time around. A lot of parents were not actually part of it, but now they're all part of Class Dojo. And in regards to our weekly check-in for my kids, I really, we use Seesaw. The platform that we're using for our pre-K 3 is Seesaw. And so one of the things that I also wanted to do is I wanted to check in with them. And because I teach in a dual language setting, I didn't want all of the work to be in just one language. And so one of the things that I wanted to have my students do is to actually practice speaking in English, because I know that the majority of them are speaking Spanish only at home. And so I made my weekly check-in to be in English, and I put their sentence starters there. I put the little emojis with their feelings so that they can just pick it up and start talking. And it's worked really, really well with them. I love hearing them. If you get a chance to see the presentation, you'll see the video of, this was one of my more students that didn't speak a whole lot in class. And so I put hers because she sounds amazing speaking in English. And as you can see, I just put some examples of 2 different activities that I've done with them. Again, these come from the resources that we already have. We use Pearson both for language arts and social studies. And you will see on that side that I've put some of those things that I suggest to my kids to use. One of the last things that the district has asked us to use was Study Island. Study Island is pretty new to me. I'm not very familiar. I'm learning along with my kids. And I always tell them, when there's something new to learn, you know, we learn together. And, you know, my kids have a little grace on me, and I have a little grace on them, because we're all learning together. So thank you very much for letting me share.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez.
Thank
And as
you.
we mentioned earlier, feel free to type any questions that you may have for our guest participants or guest presenters today. Feel free to drop that in the chat, and we will certainly address those towards the end. We're monitoring that all along the chat. Next, we have Mrs. Arriola. She is a 5th grade bilingual science teacher at Birdville ISD. Melanie, will you scroll over to Ms. Arriola's site? She has been a teacher in Birdville for 4 years, but has 17 years experience in teaching bilingual students. So Ms. Arriola, please share with us.
Hey, good afternoon all. I'm really excited to be here sharing with you just what I'm doing in the classroom, and I'm gonna back up with Ms. Hernandez. We are here together, and we love to collaborate with everybody. One of the things that I have done, our district has provided us with special takes to end up the year. And what I'm using the most is STEM folks in my classroom through Google Classroom. I use a lot of the Google Classroom. 5th grade is a little easier to be working with the, you know, with the students in Google Classroom, and we have done through the year. That means it was a little easier for me going back to all these distant learning. But at the same time, now we have the parents. A lot of them, they were trying to support students, and they did not know. What I'm trying to compile is, you know, trying to find resources in the 4 domains. That way we can continue listening, continue the reading and speaking. And a lot of the items that I use is through portfolios in Google Classroom. That's our platform for our parents' communication. And you can add portfolios there as well, that the kids, they can write, they can take pictures, upload pictures, so they can even record their own videos. Flipgrid is one of them that I've been using. I've been following the virtual field trips or the web live cameras for science. And we've been using Flipgrid as record, you know, what we observe. That way we can continue with observations through these last couple of weeks. For science, it's a little hard because we cannot do many experiments or hands-on as we wish, but these live cameras they being a savior right now. I use also the Loom to be able to record my own videos in English or Spanish for instructions as well. And Zoom, as we're using. Pairveg is another way to communicate with them. And we do, you can link videos to it, and that way they can see it, observe it, and write about it. These are one of the main things. I think I have, I don't know if you add the other slide, but the main thing for me is like, yes, this is kind of my lesson. I kind of have the introduction of it, questions to start thinking about it. And this is the example for only the English, but I have the English and Spanish. In the bottom corner, you have the communication that I have through per day. They actually went to one of the field trips, virtual field trips, and they were able to, you know, write the comments, what they observed. And one of the things that I learned is that simple is better. Sometimes the parents are getting really overwhelmed with so many links, so many sites, and they're trying to help their students, but it is hard to, you know, guide. You have to teach the parents, that way they can help the students. And if you make it just simple, one thing at a time, we will have a better success throughout these days. And just continue communication, continue the relationship with your parents and with your students, and check on them, not just the academic, the social, emotional part of them as well. But thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Arriola, for sharing.
Yes,
And
thank you.
thank you for those that have already started to ask some questions. Thank you for your engagement. Next, we have Ms. Mendez. Ms. Mendez is currently a 5th grade dual language ELA teacher at Castleberry ISD. She's taught there for 5 years, and she's going to share with us next.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing okay and you're trying to stay positive during these times. So I am going to talk a little bit about what I do in my classroom, my Google Classroom, and I hope you find these tips useful. So first thing, I do teach 5th grade, so it's for my older kids, and all my older kids are used to using Google Classroom. I like to organize my Google Classroom by content, so that way they know where to find the material. And that's one thing I did notice, is that they have to be able to find it, because if they can't find it or they feel like they will be unsuccessful, they kind of give up and they don't want to work. So everything, and I put a picture here of what my Google Classroom looks like. So it is organized by week, and I have my reading and my writing. And then one thing that I like to do is assign the assignments on Monday and check in with them throughout the week, providing that frequent feedback. And then just one very important tip, and I think this is what everyone should remember, especially during these times, is to have fun and give kids that time to really think about what's happening, and providing them just that outlet of escape from being at home all the time. So just have fun, get to know your kids, get to know what they need. So yeah, and I think, Ms. Guerrero, there's another slide that kind of talks more about the organization. Okay, so for this, I have a specific schedule my students follow. Every day I do post daily lesson videos on Google Classroom that they have to watch. After they watch the video, they do a independent reading time. Independent reading time, you can do different ways. One thing that I like to do is add the reading collection list. So they have to choose a text from that reading collection list, and then they do a reader's response. So those are the 3 things that I expect from my kids every single day is 1, watch the video, 2, read independently, or they can read with the family member, and then 3, do a reader's response. Now to differentiate the instruction, we use HMH, so we have the leveled readers. So for the kids that I know are struggling a little bit more, I might assign them a specific text that they have to read. But again, those are the 3 things that I expect from them is watch the daily video, which is kind of like the mini lesson, and then the independent reading and the reader's response. And again, it's just really setting that schedule for the kids, especially during this time, so that way they know exactly what to do. One way I like to keep up with my kids is doing Google Hangouts. So again, on Monday, I assign the lessons, and then I do a Google Hangout with them, going over important announcements, just checking in with them. And then on Wednesday, I like to see who might be struggling or who needs that additional help and schedule individual conferences with them through Google Hangout. And then that way I'm checking in to make sure that they're following the curriculum. And then on Friday, it's more of a fun day. So I like to do dance parties, like Google dance parties, and I like to come in and just hang out. But again, just checking in with our kids and making sure that they're okay. And one way I communicate with my parents is through Remind. So I'm constantly texting parents, making sure that they're up to date with the assignments. I think that's all that I have. Yes, I think that's all. So I hope you find that useful, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys today.
Thank you, Ms. Mendez, for sharing. And yes, keep those questions coming. And if you think of any questions that are in relation to any specific technology application or platform that is discussed, feel free to ask that. We will address all of your questions at the end. So next we have Iña Umpierre. She is a 5th grade dual language teacher at Birdville ISD and is here to share with us how she's supporting her students during this time.
Hello.
Hi, Iña.
Hey, I don't know, I can't see myself. There you go. My kids, what they miss the most is being together. So I have a Zoom meeting on Tuesdays. Monday we put in the lesson, and Tuesdays we have a Zoom meeting where I go over the lesson that they're supposed to be doing. My teammate and I work together also during Zoom meetings. She joins me on Tuesdays and I join her on Fridays. So it's kind of like at the beginning and at the end, and kind of like catch up with the students if they worked on their lessons. I've noticed that many students parents are not tech savvy, and they usually work with their phones. So I have to assign things that can be used on the phone, so that we have some limitations there. My students miss each other. They miss each other and they want to talk during the Zoom meeting. So I let them talk at the beginning, and I also let them talk at the end before I close the meeting. My instruction is very simple, because the first week I assigned them so much work, and then the next week I had to cut that in half, and then the week after that I had to cut it in half, because I was giving them so much stuff they were not completing. They were feeling overwhelmed, and I was also feeling frustrated. So I've been cutting. Sometimes I give
I'm sorry, Iña. Iña, I'm sorry. Will you unmute yourself, please? I'm sorry.
Oh.
There you go. I heard, we just missed 1 second. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So anyway, I assign, and I also assign a lot of Spanish and RAS kids, a lot of Spanish things in the classroom. They didn't know we were coming back. I want to rely on books they had at home. They pick books from Epic, and then they do answer responses from them on the reading class. Social studies, we also have the My World textbook online. So we already used that in the classroom when we were in the classroom. So they're doing that, and they already know how to log in, and they already know how to do that. And I try to mix social studies with the reading. So whatever topic we're learning in social studies, they read either fiction or nonfiction of the same topic. We have Education Galaxy, and in Education Galaxy, there's also a place where they can put it in Spanish. So I show them how to do that, and most of them are working on the Spanish Galaxy. I think that's it. If you have any questions, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Iña. Thank you so much for that. Next, we have Lisa Treadway. She has been an educator for 23 years. She currently serves as an instructional coach for Birdville ISD. And we've invited Lisa to share with us how she's supporting her teachers, and more importantly, for that lower elementary age between kinder and second grade. So Lisa, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to be a part. 17 of those years I spent in a classroom in a bilingual dual language classroom in Irving ISD. And I've been a dual language coach. This is now my 6th year in Birdville. And I help pre-K through 5. And I serve 3 campuses. So the workload is a little different than having just the one campus itself. And so I've done a little bit of problem solving and helping kind of talk teachers through our new plan of how that would work. So just real quickly, I'm going to share with you some of the resources you've already heard we have Fountas and Pinnell resources that our teachers are using. They're using Zoom to meet with their classrooms. They have Pear Deck, Epic, Raz Kids that they go on and do their interactive read alouds with, or they have their children use for their shared reading, or they're discussing things that way. We also have Pearson for social studies and STEM scopes for science. The district has compacted for the 5th and 6th weeks, they've compacted the most important standards that our kiddos need. And so I've been on my end trying to find resources for my teachers that tackle those TEKs, and looking at how we can use those standards to meet our students' needs online. And so each week I'm planning with individual teams, planning with individual teachers. I attend faculty meetings, listening for anything that I can share with my teachers and help them. We have 3 different platforms that teachers are using. They have Google Classroom, Seesaw, and Canvas. But in looking at the younger grades in K2, we've really found that Seesaw meets the best needs for our kiddos, both bilingual and our monolingual classes. And so I have attached, it's a link here, but I'll send it in the chat, as well as it will be in the resources shared. I've created a folder that I link inside each week, my signature line that my teachers can access. They have dual language ideas in bilingual 4th grade that you can go in and click. There's already how-to videos for Epic and some of the other resources, how to get in and log on using Zoom, Google Classroom, those kinds of things. So they're already there in Spanish. Some of the teachers have shared them with me because I'm like, just like Elena and Melanie said, together we're better. So I'm encouraging everybody that I can to help, and then I'm kind of that go-between for my teachers. There's also dual language resources for research. That's our 6 weeks this time. So we're trying to make that fun and exciting for our kiddos through home. There's point of view activities that I shared. So you'll see that there's links in each one inside. Just click on those links. Ralph Fletcher, if you're not a fan or a friend of his on Facebook, go in and check him out. He's doing weekly writing lessons with the kids. I've gone in, and every week I'm now putting those links in so you can see those. That's in the folder that I've shared with you as well as other just ideas and things, because I want to be able to help my teachers understand how to meet the needs of the kiddos. It's hard thinking now. We try to take what's in the classroom and make it into online, and it's really hard. And so how do we make that still fun and engaging and meaningful for the kiddos, but yet at the same time keeping it simple? So I'm hoping that the resources that are there that you can use as well, anything that you need or any questions that you have, feel free to reach out. My information is there. And again, I'll put that link in there. Thank you so much. Oh, I did forget to tell you, there's also in a folder, Shel Silverstein poetry, which is really cool. This poetry month was in April, and then no tech packets. That's what I spend a lot of the time if I'm not helping teachers. I'm compacting and putting together. The district has a packet to send home for pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. It's in Spanish and in English. And so I've put an example of that in English and in Spanish for 2 different grade levels. If you all wanted to take a look, it has reading, it has math, science, and social studies. So anyway, thank you so much. And I look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you, Lisa. Melanie?
All right, thank you, ladies. That was great. And yes, as mentioned, this will be shared with everyone afterwards. So don't feel like you're not going to be able to, if you can't jot everything down, we will be sharing this later. So I'm going to introduce our bilingual Vietnamese remote teaching, Lan Dinh. She was our first, well, I should say our, I'm no longer there, but in my previous district, she was our first Vietnamese bilingual teacher. Although, you know, Spanish is obviously a big piece of our dual language programs, we also have Vietnamese. And so Lan is here to share with us what pre-K through 6th grade is doing. And Lan, I've actually started with your slide. So we're going to go backwards. I'm going to let Lan share what she's currently doing with 5th and 6th, and then we'll go back to pre-K and we'll let Lan share that.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Lon, and I'm from Keller. So in 5th and 6th grades, they're older kids and they're more independent. And for my kiddos, I don't want to just kind of, because we're all stuck at home, and I want to still try to keep a structure for them to be like we're still at school, kind of, you know, and stuff. So for my kids, I do use Google Classroom, and what I often use in my classroom is project-based learning. So I still continue that for them in the Google Classroom. So on our district, we do have Zoom where we meet with our students, where we have a live engagement, where we have the actually working with them, teaching them a lesson for 45 minutes. But on top of that, I also meet with my kids for reading groups, because I still want to encourage that reading at home. So I meet with 4 different reading groups, Mondays and Wednesdays, and then the live engagement are Wednesday and on Friday. But back to the project-based learning, what I really love using that, it gets the kids really invested in it, because it gives them a real life situation. And right now, since we're going through the COVID-19, it's more life than anything else. And so what I'm getting them to do is researching more about that, how it's affecting our life, how is it going to affect us in 5 years, 10 years. And what they're working on is basically a time capsule. So they're gathering news articles, they're gathering, they're writing a diary, they're keeping their own journal, they're, making their own receipt for pandemic buying, like what are people going out there buying all, toilet roll papers and chicken and all this stuff. And then they're putting it all in a digital format. And so since I use Google Classroom, we use all of the, all the stuff that they have in Google for them to put that all together. And then that way they can always have that for themselves and then maybe share that later on. So I'm really big on project-based learning, and for them to continue with that. Also with my kids, I use commonlit.org, which is a place where they can get articles to read, poetry. And what I like about that is that it actually translates the articles, and there's many languages that it'll translate to. So, it's something that you can really, look into. Vocabulary I like to use, because for my kiddos, some of them are newcomers. And so, it's a great way for me to introduce that new vocabulary or review some of those. Epic and Sora, I know a lot of the other teachers already mentioned that, but Houston Public Library will also give you a free membership, so that way you can go ahead and check books that are on their ebooks. And so for my kids, some of them don't have, of course, library are closed right now, or they don't have books at home, or it's hard for them to go out to get stuff. So then, these are just options for them to get books into their home, so that way they could be reading. I'll go ahead and talk about what the other teachers are doing from the other grade level. So like pre-K, they do use a lot of Seesaw in their for their classroom, because it allows the kids to be record their voice and things like that, so that way they can just have an oral response versus writing, because they're younger. What Ms. Pham does also is something called Ready Rosie, and it actually will have the Vietnamese subtitles captioned for them at the bottom, so that way they can, the parents can also help and be involved and get the kids, to understand what it is they're doing. And then moving on to kinder, again, she's also using a lot of of the Seesaw as well. And then of course, there's also Moby Max that they're using. Keller has Letterland, which is their phonics program that they use. And so they are also able to get onto that. So that way they can have that reinforcement at home. And then if you move on to First, very similar, you know, we're using, you know, the Google Classroom, the Zoom meetings, of course, BrainPop and PebbleGo is another good one. And then you can go on to second grade. And I think with, you know, with the upper grades, we're moving on to more of the Google Classroom. So that way, because they're more independent now, and so to get them to kind of start working on their own a little bit more. So then they start kind of having a lot of their assignments through there. And then we go to third. Same thing, she's using, I'm trying to find anything that's different that you haven't brought up yet, but I think everybody's kind of familiar with the same programs that are out there. Moby Max, and then if you go to fourth, same thing. And then again, like if there's anything that you're not familiar with, just, you know, just put in the chat box and then I can help with answering those questions. This is my, my partner, Mr. Toe, he does the math part and he uses a lot of Kahoots, the YouTube videos, as well as IXL and Quizlet to kind of get the kids engaged because they love Kahoots and stuff. So he still keeps that going for them. And then we also have a VAS in our group, and she does more of like the vocabulary support. And so she also uses a lot of the Seesaw, the Zoom class, and the RAS Kids also. So that's my stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, Lon. Thank you for representing the Vietnamese group. And I'm not sure if we have any teachers here with us today. I hope we do, that are serving that role in a Vietnamese program. But yes, anything that you have questions about finding Vietnamese resources, please put that in the chat box. And when we get to that question piece, we will go back through the chat and start addressing those questions. So thank you, Lon. Thanks so much for sharing. We really appreciate it. So we're going to move forward and show our multilingual digital resources. These are things that you may already be aware of, but I wanted to just highlight a few things that are kind of favorites of mine. If you're not familiar, Unite for Literacy is a great place to go. This does have books with Vietnamese audio. It does not have books that are in Vietnamese. It does in Spanish, but it does have audio. So that's a great place if you are serving as a Vietnamese bilingual teacher. This would be a great place to go to have that audio with the English, which is always a great tool for our dual language students to be looking at almost side by side of, one in a book in English and then in their native language. English and Spanish videos, I think probably pretty much everybody's aware of BrainPop, but I did want to let you guys know, if you weren't aware, that it is currently free and you can get that free access with BrainPop currently during our closures. So if you maybe want to use BrainPop, but your district does not subscribe to it, you can get it for free right now. And I used BrainPop all the time when I was still in the classroom and in the district. It's a great way to promote, present concepts. And what I love about it is you could even remotely share the video and stop and talk about it with your students, and maybe even do the questions at the end together. Books in Spanish with audio, again, Unite for Literacy is one. Also, Loyal Books. Loyal Books they're not a whole lot of books. There are books that you can download, and then the bulk of them are actually the audio in Spanish. Those are really, from what I could tell, more of maybe like third and up. The books looked a little, like for the upper grades. RAS Kids, everybody has mentioned RAS Kids, but I wanted you to know that if your district does not have access to it, it does not subscribe to it, that you can get that for free right now, as well as their Head Sprouts, which is their early childhood one. Both of those can be accessed free. And then Audible, if you've not heard, Audible right now is free. And if you follow that link, you can click and be able to listen to Audible. I did notice, and maybe I didn't find it, but I did notice that I was not seeing any that were offered in Vietnamese, but maybe I just was not looking in the right spot. But those are some things that you can go to if you're not familiar with those, or just sharing with your families books in Spanish with audio. Another place that I found was the Spanish portal. The reason I liked this was because it ranged from 3 all the way to 10 years old. And you can see the different topics that are covered, from vocabulary to the alphabet, math, as well as games in English. And so this was another really great site I thought that would be helpful for your students when they're learning at home. And I want to wrap up with this piece. Is we've learned about so many different things, and I don't know about you, but during this time, especially in the beginning, I just felt really overwhelmed with all of the resources that were being shared, and where do I start? Which one do I pick? My district has, you know, this or that. But what I would say to you is really simplifying your digital language, and think about in the classroom how we model and we simplify. Well, now it's all digital. And even though you may be delivering something through a video chat, whether it's Google Meet or Zoom, we really have to simplify our language. And so really considering doing a one-to-one-to-one. And this is, I've got a little screenshot here from Region 12 that was shared in a collaborative meeting that Elena and I attend with all the ESCs in the state. And someone had shared this about remote learning and starting small. And you can see, you know, what's going to be your home base. For example, my youngest, this is 2nd grade, and they use Seesaw. And I have to say, my husband's a teacher too, but having 2 educators at home and trying to work and do that, it's been made it so easy to know I'm just going to Seesaw, and he's got, you know, this little video to watch of his teacher and then this activity. And I know we only have one really big activity to do per day. And it's made it really easy, and it's very consistent and routine. And that's something else that I would say to you, is making it routine, where I know every day as a parent or as a student, I'm going to go in and we're going to first watch a video of the teacher, then we're going to do the activity, making it as simple and like someone mentioned earlier, less is more. And then looking at what's your communication strategy, and really thinking about, you know, one learning aid, one collaboration method, and one experience. And I've given you an example. This is Mrs. Park. I don't know Mrs. Park, but I came across this on Twitter. And she is actually a high school ESL teacher. But I really liked how clean her example was of her with the week, that it's very, has a lot of visuals and very easy to follow. I know I can click here to go to the classroom on Tuesday and Thursday. I know where to contact her for help. And then you can see she's got each little section and where they need to go and what they need to do. And so the easier and more simplified, the better. All right, so now it's time for our questions. And I know there was a lot going on in the chat box. And yes. Elena, if I missed anything, you know, let me know. I'm going to kind of scroll back through the chat box.
Sure. And I think one of them was addressed, but I just want to make sure that the group got it. So originally, someone had asked Araceli Ms. Hernandez if she also provided her students with if she assigned written assignments, and if they were submitted, and how often. Ms. Hernandez, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I really love what Melanie said about the routine and keeping it consistent. So that is exactly what I've done with my students. I send out every Monday, and we've actually started doing it on Tuesdays because we want them to complete study island assignments on Monday. But on Tuesday, I send out a organizer on Seesaw that they can use to kind of either retell or summarize. It's some kind of digital organizer on there where they can go in and type what they've read. Because on the assignment sheet that we send out, you know, I tell them that I want them to read it twice. So the first read, they have to complete the organizer. And then on the second read, that's when they'll complete some kind of, you know, comprehension or connection questions. And it's just three questions. It's not a whole lot. And I don't assign the questions to them until Wednesday, because I know that if I assign everything on the same day, they'll try to do it all. And usually the questions that I put for them on Wednesday, I try to include a video recording of me just going over either the genre or what is it that I wanted them to get from that particular reading, I include that in the Seesaw session or lesson that I put out for them.
Perfect. Thank you so much for clarifying that. We had another question about virtual field trips, and to the entirety of that question, I didn't capture that. If they had offered to, if anybody had tried that with kinder and first grade, and I think that was at the point where we had before Lisa presented. So if any of our presenters would like to share how you have supported pre-K or K1 students in virtual field trips.
I know that some of my teachers are planning them for the next week or so, getting in there. Second grade has already at one campus, they went to the museum they talked about, and they were able to see one of the K1 teachers is going on nature walks, or encouraging the children to go on nature walks as they're getting out and exploring things with the science part. And she's uploading a video each day for them to go in and see if there's snakes crawling, or I sent her a hummingbird, but just different things for them to see that they don't normally see. But as far as a virtual field trip on our end, I haven't known of any, but those are some ideas that some of my teachers are doing just to kind of spur some discussions that are about nature with my kids or their kids.
Lisa, thank you. And I want to add to that, just before we really, when we first started these at home, staying at home, and the school district had really not rolled out a lot of what was going to happen. You know, having two teachers at home, we kind of kicked into gear and started doing our own lessons before we were, obligated to do the school. But I started doing some of the virtual field trips with my youngest. And one thing I would encourage you to do is to really check them out before, because, and not that anything was inappropriate, but just I had come across, and I don't know how many of you follow me on Twitter, and I'll try to find it, but I had tweeted out several, like almost 2 months worth of a calendar of virtual field trips that I had come across. And what I noticed though on some of them is it was much more tedious to get to the actual field trip, and it really, it took you to one page and there's just so much there. So I would just encourage you to kind of screen some of those before you share them to make sure it's easily accessible. And then I see a question in the chat box. I'm thinking it's for Lon. Lon, a question that I believe it was for Lon. What were the resources what resource do you use when you do your small group reading instruction?
So for my small group reading instruction, we have book clubs. So the students have already picked books before this all happened. So when I was able to get back into my campus, I grabbed the books they were reading. And so we just continued that. But while we're reading, I'm basically just having very, questions and just discussions about what's going on. And I always like to connect it to their own personal life, so that way they can have more interest and more buy-in to the books and stuff. But whatever, and also some teaks, like, we'll talk about Arthur's Purpose, things like that. So anything that I know that we were working on before we, school was at home, I just try to review all of those teaks again. And then again, of course, connecting it to their own lives.
Thank you, Lon. Elena, I know there's some questions, and I was coming across some. We're probably at the different places looking at the chat box, but I did notice someone asked about uploading videos to YouTube. A recommendation that I had in our last one with the ESL teachers is maybe creating a classroom YouTube or YouTube account or channel for your classroom. That is something in my previous district that I had started doing, and I plan on doing. Currently, I have a channel, but I plan on doing geared more towards our groups. But thinking about uploading those and having those there, I will tell you with experience, it tends to be easier to embed those in your presentations when they're in YouTube as opposed to another format. And so I would encourage you to look at ways to do screen recording. I know people have talked about Loom, there's Screencastify. I have a Mac, and my Mac does the screen recording itself. And so I don't have to have a program. But and if our presenters, if any of you have anything to add about YouTube videos, please feel free to chime in on that. Elena, do you see any other questions that we have not addressed?
Yes. Another question was, I think it was answered, but one was asking for a suggestion on how to view Seesaw assignments in order. And the recommendation was to list them by, put on the title, the sequence in which you want them. So start the title by having the date, using the month and date format so that you could pull those up in sequence and in order if you're looking over time. Any presenters, do you have any other recommendations for viewing assignments in Seesaw in order? And I believe those were all of the questions, Melanie, that were captured. People were asking, our participants, and were asking if we're going to share the resources, and we said we will, and we'll share them, this PowerPoint, as well as give a 1 hour credit for attending today.
Yes, so we're winding down, so I want to share a few things before we end our time together. We have created a share folder for you guys, and this would be a place that you can go to and put in ideas and resources. Because it is a share folder, you know, make sure that you, once you make a copy or download, that we don't delete anybody's work, but we hope to, you know, this really be kind of a portal or a place to put things. So we'll share that. Here's the QR code that when you go back, you can access that, but we'll also put that in our follow-up email. And then I wanted to share a Google site that I have that has English learner resources, and then let you know that there is a dual language site coming soon. But this has a lot of different resources out there for you to help with, you know, English and or practice English and other content areas, grammar practice. And again, we will start working on one for dual language. All right, so what we're going to do now real quickly is I have a poll for you. Do we want to continue this? So when we think about, you know, moving forward, would you like to continue having these bilingual teacher collaboratives? And if you don't mind filling out the poll, would you like to continue these sessions? Yes, no, maybe. How often would you like for them to occur? Would you like to see them happen in the summer? And if you do, how often in the summer? So it looks like the majority of us want to continue having them. And right now, it looks like most would like to see that happen once a month. And most of us would like to see that being offered in the summer.
Melanie, I do have questions in the chat of where to find the poll.
Oh, I have shared it. Can you guys not see it? Because I have people voting. So it's I've shared on your screen. It should be popped up.
Thank you.
Yes. So it looks like, again, kind of going back over that, we have most of our people would like to continue. It looks like most right now would like it once a month, although we're getting close to maybe some wanting it just once in the fall, once in the spring. You would like to see it in the summer. And most of you, the majority say they would like to have it both June and July. So we will look towards scheduling those. Something that I didn't mention at the beginning, because I've kind of forgotten about it, is we were able to get this session pushed through our registration system. So tomorrow when I send the follow-up email, you will actually see a place to go and register after the fact, but you're going to go and you're going to register for what you attended today, and that way you will get your certificate more quickly. So once you follow that link, you will register for the session that you attended today, and it will send you a survey, and you'll complete it, and then you'll have that certificate. And you'll find our future sessions there as well. What I also send emails out to the bilingual ESL directors and coordinators with upcoming sessions. And so once we get those scheduled out, I will communicate with your directors on when those will be. Okay, some upcoming professional learning opportunities for you. I've included that link there. We do have things, Elena and I both have things coming up soon. So feel free to check those out and see what's happening, as well as other areas of interest. And then Elena, I'll let you share a little bit about what is being offered through CAL.
Absolutely. So through Cal, they're offering several 1-hour Zoom sessions, the Center for Applied Linguistics, and these are specific to Spanish development. So the first one you can notice that even the title is there is Cómo fomentar el desarrollo de la lengua y la lectoescritura en español. So these links are live links. Once you get this, Zoom recording, you should be able to click on there and register. Again, it's free. It's a 90-minute webinar provided by the researchers from the Center of Applied Linguistics. So very timely. The other one is Fostering Spanish Language and Literacy Development. So they are, sending very relevant topics of webinars, and we wanted to share those along with you in addition to the supports that we have here at the Service Center for you all. This is another one that they have, another 90-minute webinar over PSYOP and dual language programs, and then how to scaffold and support our learners in 2 languages. So feel free to check those out in addition, like I said, to the resources and the supports that we have here for you.
Thank you, Elena. And we've hit our mark, but something that I do want you to think about is if your student were to write you a letter, dear bilingual teacher, I wish you knew that, love your bilingual student. What do you think that they would say to you? You know, we've heard so many different things today about, you know, digital, but then we know that some people, some students are literally looking at a phone and that's how they're doing their remote learning. Some are using packets. And so what do you think your student would say to you? And really thinking about, you know, when this is over, what do you want them to remember? Often, if you've ever been in one of my trainings, I talk a lot about the #1 priority is meeting the effective needs of our students. And, you know, at the end of the day, what is it that they remember? And I don't know about you, but I remember the person and not really what I learned particularly. And in some of the activities I do at the Service Center, I take us back to high school. And, you know, what do you remember about high school? Do you remember that what you learned in chemistry, or do you remember the teacher? And so really the heart is what weighs the most. And so really be thinking about, as we are have moved into this new way of teaching, you know, really what really matters. And right now what really matters is meeting their effective needs, and you know, do they have what they need emotionally and socially. Here is our contact information, both Elena and I, our emails, as well as our Twitter handles. And then you'll see to the left, there's a link to our bilingual ESL program support page. You'll find compliance, but you'll also find instructional resources as well as a parent page. And then at the bottom is a SMORE that I've been doing for about 3 years called Succeeding in a Diverse Classroom. And that goes out every month, and you can even go back to past issues. And there you will find resources. It's not a blog. It is very, you know, here's something maybe relevant to what's going on at the time, and then a new tech tool. And so I would encourage you to go there, because my last 2 issues have been geared towards our current situation. But as mentioned, this will be, I will email this to you tomorrow. I will email you the recording. I will email you the PDF version of the presentation, so you will have the links. And then I will also send you a link to register on Region 11 for the session you attended today. And that's how you will get your credit for Region 11. You'll get 1 hour. And also I'll send you the link to the shared Google Drive, or excuse me, folder, and you will be able to put in any ideas or resources that you have, and then be looking towards when we will offer the next session. And just be, you know, looking on Region 11 site. It'll be named Region 11 Bilingual Teacher Collaborative. And you guys are also welcome to attend our ESL Teacher Collaborative, because you do deliver, you know, content in English as well. And so feel free to join those. Our next one is coming up, I believe it's May 14th. And then we have a June and a July set too. So we hope to see you there. And again, Elena and I are just so thankful that you have joined us. We applaud all the work that you're doing. We know it's tedious. It's not easy to do this job. I've already had my door knocked on like 3 times by probably my 2nd grader since we've been sitting here. And so we know this is not an easy task. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you all soon.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Question. Oh, never mind. I was going to ask Elena. Elena, if you already registered, do you have to register again?
No, that's a good question. What will happen is you're going to get a link from Melanie to register. So you will re-register, but not through Zoom. And so that way you can get credit. So you'll just see another link that she'll send out with the follow-up email.
Okay, good. Because I was like, I registered, but I didn't know if it was just for the meeting. Okay, awesome.
Thank you for
ma'am.
joining us.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.